The Rambling Thoughts of Insanity's Lightbulb.
Welcome to the very first episode of
The Rambling Thoughts of Insanity's Lightbulb.
Beards, Betamax, and Broken-Hearted Daydreams. It's a brand new YouTube video podcast series dropping every Sunday at midnight, all summer long.
That is utterly ridiculous.
Because nothing screams emotional stability like a soon-to-be 60-year-old man unpacking his teenage trauma, while the rest of the world is either asleep, sedated, or listening to
The Rambling Thoughts of Insanity's Lightbulb.
I know what you're thinking. Who is this guy? What is this YouTube video podcast all about? Why the weird name?
The
Rambling Thoughts
of
Insanity's Lightbulb. Well, when I think about my life, it's kind of like a flash cube going off in a pitch black room. It's that sudden, blinding moment when your brain zaps you with a flood of bizarre, sin-drenched, awkward memories, lighting up the darkest corners of my teenage years.
We're in trouble now, huh?
And if the word flash cube gave
A
you...
retro-glazed flashback.
Congratulations! You are now legally stuck watching the rest of...
The Rambling Thoughts of Insanity's Lightbulb.
Sometimes I think Max Headroom hijacked my consciousness and started narrating my life in glitchy stereo. 1 second I'm brushing my teeth, and then, the next thing I know, I'm reliving that moment when I gave Carol Ann a Valentine's Day card in Miss Johnson's homeroom. As soon as she got it, she passed it to her best friend Amy, who passed it to her best friend, and so on, until every girl in the 9th grade had read it and laughed, not giggled, laughed, and formed a spontaneous show choir of humiliation, complete with choreography and jazz hands. That's Insanity's Lightbulb.
I'm sorry.
It's a burst of nostalgic chaos with no clear shape, no warning, and absolutely no refunds.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, it's gonna be unusual, strange, way off center, and I will be your slightly unstable tour guide on this nostalgic fever dream of retro flashbacks. Some of these memories come straight from my journal, some from dark, dusty corners of my mind. And some from mental lockboxes even Sigmund Freud would have labeled, "Do not open." But that is what is all about. In upcoming episodes, I'll tell you about the time I campaigned to be Pope, or how my brother absolutely refuses to say certain words, and the now infamous story of when my pet rock went to therapy. This YouTube video podcast will also be filled with teenage memories from the 80s, wild madness, delusions of grandeur, and loosely supervised thoughts. But who am I? Am I a licensed therapist? No. Am I a time-traveling life coach? Not yet. But I have spent decades overanalyzing my own embarrassing memories, if they were lost episodes of different strokes. For those who do not know me, I am Mike Laurier, and I'd like to welcome you here to the very first episode of a brand new YouTube video podcast, The Rambling Thoughts of Insanity's Lightbulb. You thought I was going to play the intro clip again, didn't you? So why am I doing this video podcast series? As you may have noticed, there is not much laughter in the world these days. Even TV's given up on trying to distract us. Cops chasing criminals, doctors entangled in romantic traumas, lawyers suing other doctors on behalf of cops dating doctors. Then there's doctors performing emergency surgery on lawyers while being sued mid-operation. And if it's not that, it's some maniac depressive clown on the loose again. Or it's a double standard dressed up as a breaking news event. Or it's politics. This side yelling at that side. And I've been stuck on the awkward side since 1980. So I figured, why not try and forget about the present for a while and take a nostalgic trip back to the 1980s. The decade of the Material Girl, moosed up hairdos, Bryan Adams, leg warmers, Cabbage Patch Kids. Olivia Newton-John wanted to get physical. Duran Duran, Mr. T had a cereal, Ronald Reagan, and MTV ruled the cable networks. Back to a time when high school felt like surviving a daily hostage crisis, and a trip to the principal's office meant you were knee-deep in toxic waste. And everybody lived in fear of accidentally recording over their cousin's wedding with an episode of Knight Rider. I'll be sharing what it was like for me stumbling through those years, desperately searching for a
meaningful relationship.
Just so you know, my brother and I attended 19 schools between the ages of 5 and 18. That's not an education. That's the Witness Protection Program with a backpack. I was labeled Learning Disabled and placed in the LLL Room, Look, Listen, and Learn, which was basically an oversized special ed classroom in Roswell, New Mexico. Minus the space aliens, I think. At the end of the school year, the head teacher pulled my mom aside and told her, in no uncertain terms, don't expect too much from him. And yes, the him they were referring to was me. The only question I have is how, in 1972, did that teacher know that I'd grow up to be the host of
The Rambling Thoughts of Insanity's Lightbulb.
Besides being labeled LD, I was a future drama major with an overabundance of enthusiasm. The kind of kid who believed that every book report was an audition for Broadway. But for me, the 80s weren't about fashion or trends or watching The Breakfast Club. The 80s were about trying to solve life's eternal mysteries. Did girls actually like guys who quoted from Team Beat, carried a blue Ocean Pacific Velcro wallet, and recited George Carlin one-liners? Spoiler alert, no, they did not. And so, in my teenage years, those 3 L's came back to haunt me. Lost, left out, and lonely. But hey, let's be honest, that basically qualifies me to be a teenager in the 1980s, right? As you can tell, this YouTube video podcast is filled with my demented thoughts. Memories that just scream through my brain like a flock of caffeinated seagulls. And maybe, just maybe, doing this podcast will clear some space in my brain and maybe even make room for a few normal thoughts. I'm not holding my breath. Some of those voices still think they're paying rent. But if you have made it this far, congratulations. Either you actually like it, or you thought this was one of those unskippable ads before the real video started. Either way, welcome to the weird ride. Like, subscribe, drop a comment or two, and join me next week for another dose of
The Rambling Thoughts of Insanity's Lightbulb.